I just want some validation. I just want other people to tell me I'm funny, because I think that I'm funny, but whether other people agree with me is up in the air. Hi everyone, welcome to Things Lucy Reads. I'm Luce, and this is just absolutely ridiculous, and I apologize in advance. So I had an idea 3 days ago, which I personally think is absolutely hilarious, and I've been laughing about it ever since I had it. This is a TBR picking video in which a Big Mac is going to choose my TBR. And by that, I mean, I have made a TBR jar, or rather a TBR glass, and it's a Big Mac anniversary commemorative glass from McDonald's with a picture of a Big Mac on the front. So I'm gonna pick some books out of here and it will be the Big Mac choosing the books. That's how this works, right? Probably not as funny as I think it is, but I think it's hilarious, and that's all that matters. Alright, so I briefly had a TBR jar very early on when I started my channel, but I never actually used it, and I never filmed videos about it, and I didn't actually like pick any books out. But I've been watching a lot of Angus's videos recently, and he's been doing books out of a TBR jar, and it just looks like so much fun, and his reactions to picking out the titles were always so funny that it just really inspired me to pick this up again and do it for myself. I haven't included all of the books that I own that are unread because there's frankly just too many of them. So what I've done is I've only put in queer books, so it's a little more focused. And the other day when I was rearranging my bookshelves a little bit, I was just really kind of inspired to pick up so many of the queer books that I own that I haven't yet read that I thought, oh well, that plus Angus's incredible videos, I'll make a TBR jar just of queer books, which is what I've done. It's not all of my unread queer books. There are some that I have earmarked for other TBRs. There are some that are just bricks. For example, I own The Priory of the Orange Tree, but that's not in there because I don't want to commit to that. This jar, glass, Big Mac, whatever, also contains some queer books that I want to reread, specifically graphic novels for the most part. Just because like I've been meaning to reread them, but I've never got around to it, and it might be a little bit of a like an easy option for me some months to pick out a book I've already read and just reread it. So we'll see how we go. The rules that I'm setting for myself is every time I pick books out of the jar, I will pick 3. I have this rainbow paper and I cut it into 3 columns. So I will pick a red and yellow piece of paper, a yellow and green piece of paper, and a blue and purple piece of paper. And then I will have like a full rainbow strip. So I thought that makes sense. Once I've picked 3, if there is one that I really don't want to read at the moment, I can veto it, but I have to pick out another one of the same color. And I'm also not going to set myself any restrictions, like if I don't read it this month, then I have to unhaul it or anything like that. If I don't read it after a month or a few months, I will just put it back in the jar, I think, and try again at a later date. I'm just going to pick one out and see what color it is, and then I will decide about the next course of action. Okay, so what? I dropped one. It's blue. Okay, I'll go with that one later though. So I have a red and yellow piece of paper, and this one is, oh god, coming back to bite me in the ass. Okay, the first book that I've picked out of the jar is Dorian by Will Self. Okay, so I read this book. I can remember not really enjoying it, but it's the kind of book that just really sticks in your mind, and I have been thinking about rereading it. This is a retelling of The Picture of Dorian Gray, set in London in the 80s in the midst of the AIDS crisis, and there's a lot of drugs, and really all I really remember is the main character doing a lot of looking in a mirror and like scraping off that like white stuff that you get in the corner of your mouth. That's most of what I remember about this book. And I've recently come to decide that I categorically do not like books where the main character's main personality trait is I take drugs and can't have a functional relationship, and I'm pretty sure that that's what this book is, but I'm committed now. I'm gonna read it. We're in this together. So honestly, worst case scenario to pick this out first. Like, I don't feel like any of the others can be as bad as this, but I guess we'll find out. Right, and then the piece that dropped out just now is a blue and purple strip, and the book that this says is Oh, okay. So this one is another reread, but it's a graphic novel, and it's Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. I don't specifically remember if this one is queer, but I know that this author is, so I feel like that still counts. I read this several years ago, and I don't really remember very much about it, but I'm keen to reread it. And actually this is perfect because I'm going to do the Merlin readathon in the first 2 weeks of August, and one of my pathway prompts is read a scary book, and I've been absolutely stumped as to what to read for that, and this one was scary from what I remember, so perfect, worked out well. Now I'm going to go for a yellow and green piece of paper. There was one just sitting on the edge, so I picked that one up, and this one is, oh boy. Okay, it's Under the Odala Trees by Chinelo Okparanta, which is behind me right here. I don't think I'm ready to read this book yet, so I'm going to put this one back and I'm going to pick another one in the same colour. I'm going to pick this one instead. So this one is... oh, okay, alright. I've picked out Tales of the City by Armistead Maupin. I have been planning to read this series for a really long time. I don't actually hear very many people talking about this nowadays, but I know the whole series, so hopefully I like it enough to read the whole thing. And this is good because once I read this one, what I will do is I will make a little strip of paper for the next one in the series, and then I will put that in, because something else that I've done with this jar is I haven't put in whole series, I've just put in whatever book I'm up to, or in the case of a few of them, if I want to reread the series, I've just put in the first book. So once I read the first one, then I can put the next one in the jar if I decide to. And if I happen to read queer books not for this challenge, just in general, and then later on I pick them out of the jar, obviously I will just pick out a new one because I will have already read it and I will not need to reread it unless I want to. Okay, and I've just looked on Scribd and there is an audiobook of Tales of the City on there, so I probably will be reading that book in that format. And also, this audiobook of Tales of the City is narrated by Frances McDormand, so that's just even more incredible. So I will read these and vlog about it, and hopefully you will come along with me on that journey. Thank you very much for watching. If you've read any of these, please feel free to let me know what you thought. If you just want to let me know that you were here, drop me an emoji heart in your favorite color in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.